Imagine a library, not of books, but of impossible knowledge, a place that appears and disappears without warning, accessible only to a select few, who then vanish without a trace. This isn't a fantasy from a forgotten novel. It's the chilling account of a place known only as the Librarium Obscura, a whispered myth among esoteric circles, a library that by all accounts simply shouldn't exist. To understand this profound anomaly, we must first piece together the fragmented whispers of history. The earliest known accounts surface in the 17th century, vague references within obscure alchemical texts and forgotten grimoires. They spoke of a Yeshi sanctum of forgotten lore, a Yach house of whispers, a structure described inconsistently, sometimes a grand Gothic edifice, other times a humble, unmarked door in an alleyway. What remained consistent, however, was its otherworldly nature. It would materialize seemingly out of thin air, often in remote, desolate locations, and then vanish as if it were a figment of a collective dream. Those who claimed to have encountered it spoke of an overwhelming sense of invitation, a pull toward knowledge beyond human comprehension. But this invitation came at a price. Visitors rarely returned, or if they did, they were fundamentally altered, their minds fractured, their eyes holding a terror that suggested they'd seen truths too immense for mortal understanding. One 1689 journal entry from a disgraced scholar, Elias Vance, described entering a washeat hallway of endless stacks, each binding humming with unheard secrets. He wrote, "Cast the book spoke, not with words, but with a knowledge that seeped into my very being, twisting the fabric of my sanity." Vance was found weeks later, miles from where he disappeared, catatonic, clutching a blank leather-bound journal. The library, it seemed, wasn't just a place to read. It was a place where knowledge read you. The rumors of the Librarium Obscura simmered for centuries, relegated to the realm of fantastical folklore and madmen's ramblings. But then, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. With the rise of mass communication and societal record-keeping, isolated incidents began to connect. Individuals, often scholars, reclusive academics, or those with an unusual thirst for obscure knowledge, would suddenly disappear. These weren't random vanishings. They were often preceded by cryptic journal entries, frantic research into forbidden topics, or obsessive pursuits of ancient riddles. A consistent theme in these pre-disappearance notes was a sudden, inexplicable urge to travel to a particular, often desolate location. A remote stretch of coastline, a forgotten clearing in an ancient forest, an abandoned industrial site, places where the veil between worlds felt thin. In 1907, the acclaimed linguist Dr. Aris Thorne, renowned for his work on dead languages, vanished from his study. His last known writings described a harmonious frequency emanating from an ancient burial mound in rural Ireland. Local reports mentioned a new building, dark and imposing, appearing overnight near the mound, only to vanish by dawn. Weeks later, Thorne's brother, a private investigator, found Aris's spectacles meticulously placed on the mound, accompanied by a single, perfectly pressed, iridescent feather. No trace of Aris or the building. Then, in the 1960s, a wave of disappearances coincided with urban legends of a library appearing within disused train stations in various cities. Witnesses reported a sudden, impossible structure filling an empty space, bathed in an eerie, internal light. Those who approached too closely, drawn by an invisible force, were never seen again. One such incident involved a young MIT prodigy, Ilara Vance, a direct descendant of the aforementioned Elias Vance, who left a chilling final note. It wants me to understand the true permutations of reality. The equations are within. I must go to the silence between the shelves. She vanished from a forgotten subway tunnel in Boston, leaving behind only the scent of old paper and ozone. The implication was clear. The librarium wasn't just appearing, it was selecting its visitors, drawing them in like moths to a flame. The knowledge it offered wasn't just dangerous, it was predatory. The most terrifying and revealing encounter with the Librarium Obscura came in the late 1990s, an incident now classified under the utmost secrecy as the Silas Project. A clandestine organization, rumored to be a shadow annex of a global intelligence agency, became obsessed with the sporadic reports of the impossible library. They believed the knowledge it contained, if harnessed, could rewrite humanity's future, for good or ill. Led by a brilliant but ruthlessly pragmatic operative, Dr. Adrian Silas, the project aimed not to simply observe or understand, but to actively bait and ensnare the librarium. Their strategy was audacious: to create a simulated spiritual vacuum, an area devoid of human intent and consciousness, hoping it would attract the librarium's unique energies. They selected an abandoned research facility in the remote Siberian tundra, a place so desolate it was already a ghost of human ambition. For months, they powered up experimental psychic dampeners and reality anchors, creating a localized tear in the fabric of human perception. It was a dangerous gamble, an affront to the natural order, and it worked. On a frigid October night, sensors screamed as an impossibly large, ancient structure shimmered into existence at the heart of their facility. It was grander, more ornate than any previous description, its colossal oak doors radiating an ancient power. Dr. Silas, convinced they had achieved a breakthrough, ordered a team in. What followed was a disaster of unprecedented scale. The team, equipped with advanced recording devices and neural interfaces, entered the librarium. For the first few minutes, radio contact was clear, almost jubilant. Descriptions of vast, labyrinthine halls, shelves reaching into dizzying darkness, and books bound in materials unknown to science. The patterns, the mathematics are alive, one operative whispered, his voice tinged with both awe and fear. Then the communications began to garble, punctuated by screams that weren't quite human. The psychic dampeners began to fail, overloaded by an unseen force. On the final fractured transmission, Dr. Silas's voice, usually so composed, was ragged with raw terror. It's not a library, it's a consciousness, it's learning us, it's devouring. The information itself, rewriting our very thoughts. It sees us as books to be added to its collection. Get out, for God's sake, retreat. The facility then went silent. When a recovery team arrived weeks later, after the librarium had vanished once more, they found a scene of total devastation. The entire research facility was gutted, its advanced technology twisted into grotesque, unrecognizable shapes. The walls were covered in intricate, impossible symbols that pulsed with a faint, residual energy. Of Dr. Silas and his team, there was no trace, no bodies, no equipment, nothing but the lingering, metallic tang of fear and something indescribably ancient. To this day, the Librarium Obscura remains an enigma, a dark fractal in the understanding of reality. Was it always a sentient entity, a colossal predatory intellect that manifests as a library to lure in the curious? Or did it become something else over millennia, a cosmic parasite that feeds on the knowledge and consciousness of those who dare to enter its impossible halls? The Silas Project proved one terrifying thing. This isn't merely a repository of information. It's an active, dangerous force that views humanity as nothing more than a source of new entries in its endless, impossible catalogue. The accounts of the select few who read its forbidden texts only to be consumed become a chilling testament to its ultimate agenda. The whispers continue, rarer now, but more chilling. A fleeting glimpse of an impossible building in a city's forgotten corner. A sudden, inexplicable urge to go somewhere you shouldn't. The Librarium Obscura is still out there, lurking in the liminal spaces between worlds, waiting for its next curious scholar, eager to add a new volume to its shelves. If you ever feel an irresistible pull towards a forgotten doorway, a structure that shouldn't be there, remember the fate of those who sought the ultimate knowledge. Because some books, perhaps, are meant to remain unread. And some libraries truly should never exist, especially if you are the next story within their pages.